2025 is a year of unknowns for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. What we know for right now that Vladdy Jr. is in the last year of his deal with the Blue Jays. The purpose of today's video is talking about Vladdy's 2025 and talking about where he could possibly go, what things lie ahead in terms of the Blue Jays, in terms of Vladdy himself, pretty much looking at avenues that could shake up the league for years and years to come. If you guys do like the content being thrown at you, any and all support would always be appreciated. Like, subscribe, comment, share it around with your friends. Check out VenettaSportsMedia.com to stay up to date with all your favorite sports. But with all that out of the way, let's talk about Vladdy Jr. Now, to set the table with Vladimir Guerrero Jr., let's talk about Vladimir Guerrero Sr. Vladdy Jr. is the son of legendary outfielder Vladimir Guerrero, the notorious free swinger. For those who don't know what free swinger means, there was never a pitch that was too good for Vladimir Guerrero Sr. to hit. We're talking about the son of a former MVP, a Hall of Famer, 9-time All-Star, and an 8-time Silver Slugger with over 400 career home runs and a .318 batting average. While Vladimir Guerrero spent 16 years in Major League Baseball, Vladdy Jr. is entering year 7. Vladdy Jr. is obviously a very hyped up prospect coming into the league. His first season, he finished 6th in the Rookie of the Year voting. In the 2020 season, obviously it was due to the pandemic, only a 60-game year. You can argue that he did pick up where he left off in his rookie year, but it was the 2021 season where he really burst onto the scene. In the 2021 season, this is when Vladdy Jr. arrived. He finished 2nd in the MVP voting, his first All-Star appearance. He won the Silver Slugger at first base, led the league in runs, led the league in home runs, led the league in on-base percentage, slugging percentage, OPS and OPS plus. In that 2021 season alone, nearly tripled his production from the previous 2 seasons. Again, it's not to discount his first 2 years in the league. It was more that dramatic spike in production just showed how special of a talent he was that year, and it kind of set the table for him the following seasons after that. And obviously, for those wondering, in 2021, Shohei Ohtani walked away with the MVP, because of course he did. And then the following seasons, while he couldn't replicate his 2021 season, he was still good for at least 25 plus home runs. He won a Gold Glove in 2022 at first base. He was obviously one of the premier players in the league, but it was in 2024 where he went back to being one of the most feared hitters in MLB. His OPS plus jumped 50 points from 2023 to 2024, finished 6th in MVP voting. He won the Silver Slugger. And while his counting stats didn't take a gigantic leap compared to 2023, it's his offensive percentages that took a gigantic leap. From batting average all the way to OPS plus, jumped dramatically and nearly mirroring his 2021 production. And while we always saw that he was able to provide great value at first base with the bat, those numbers specifically jumping up represents that he was able to be more impactful with the bat on a more consistent basis. It's not even just with home runs and driving guys in. He was getting on base more and getting more extra base hits. Like, he had hit 44 doubles this past year, which was a career high for him. Struck out under 100 times the first time since his rookie season. Pretty much in 2024, he put it all together again. And with the 2025 season on the way, in a contract year for him, it's very notorious for a lot of great players going in their contract year to go nuclear. And if this is a blueprint of what we can expect in 2025, we can expect that this guy is going to be one of the best players in baseball again. While statistically, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has been one of the best players at his position and one of the best players in the game, the Blue Jays haven't had that same level of success as a team. 2021 season, they just missed out on the playoffs. 2022, they lose in the wild card round to the Mariners. And 2023, they lose in the wild card series again, this time to the Twins. I think the 2021 team probably had the best shot of winning a World Series with Vladdy there, because that team was just very good. You had Marcus Semien, who hit 45 home runs. You had the Cy Young and Robbie Ray. Bo Bichette was really good as well. But obviously, you fast forward 4 years later at this point, and the Blue Jays haven't really done a whole lot. Blue Jays have tried to bring stars in to play with Vladdy, tried to go after Juan Soto. That didn't happen. They're still in play for people like Anthony Santander. They were even in on somebody like Corbin Burns before he ultimately signed with the Diamondbacks. It's not for the Blue Jays' lack of trying to build a good team around Vladimir Guerrero Jr. If things don't seem to turn around soon, the clock could very much be ticking on Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s time in Toronto. While he has stated in the past he loves playing for the Blue Jays and he loves Toronto, obviously it's his hometown team, that doesn't change the fact that he's got to ask for a massive, massive bag. Now, there's already been reports that both sides, the Blue Jays and Vladdy Jr., are very far apart in terms of an extension. He was looking for a contract more in $450 million range, and honestly, that number doesn't surprise me because you have somebody by the time he becomes a free agent entering his age 27 season, and if he has another great season like he did in 2024, that number can just keep climbing and climbing. Perfect recipe for a payday when you're just about to enter your prime and you put up elite production and you finish in top 10 in MVP voting. There are going to be teams calling. There's already teams out there that have no problem cutting him a check. The Blue Jays are staring a rebuild in the face. In my opinion, the Blue Jays should look to really enter rebuild mode. They're still in play for people like I've mentioned earlier, Anthony Santander, and they're also still in play for someone like Alex Bregman. And while bringing somebody like that in could help the team in the short term, I am just looking at the longer term outlook of the Blue Jays, especially if Vladdy doesn't end up signing an extension. The deadline is set. If an extension does not get done by the start of spring training, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is going to be entering free agency. And around that time, you can kind of get a better understanding of how the team's going to look entering the season, because by the time spring training starts, hypothetically, you would see a lot of the free agents already have signed, a lot of the big names specifically. And while me and many other people believe the Blue Jays should just enter rebuild mode, it looks like with their activity in the offseason, they're looking to try to compete now. And I think one of the main factors is with the fact that Vladdy has yet to sign an extension. Big free agents aren't going to be as open to joining the Blue Jays, especially with that lingering over the organization's head. So with that being said, the idea is, say Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has himself a terrific first half of the 2025 season, and we're getting around July, August, to where trade deadline season is. One would assume if the Blue Jays are more or less out of the running or just not looking good, because obviously the team finished in last place this past season, roster isn't looking so hot, at least in terms of trying to compete in the American League East, you would assume that they would look to move Vladimir Guerrero Jr. But if that ends up being the reality of the situation, I'm sure the Blue Jays wouldn't want to lose someone like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. for nothing, especially to be able to rebuild that farm system a little bit. And one can absolutely be certain that teams will keep a close eye on the Blue Jays situation, especially with Vladdy. And as soon as he becomes available for trade, many, if not all, the contending teams will give it a look and try to bring him in for a trade and then potentially put themselves in a better position to extend him. There was teams already reporting on potentially bringing Vladdy in when he becomes a free agent, like the Mets, like the Yankees. But then there's also the Boston Red Sox. And there was a Bob Nightingale report, was worded a little bit differently when he initially posted it, along the lines saying that in 2026, the Red Sox have a great chance, more or less, to bring in Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And while this isn't a Red Sox video per se, it is something to think about as the Red Sox are looking to bring in younger stars. They're looking to bring in younger stars that fit the window with Rafael Devers, players in their mid-20s entering their prime, if not already in their prime, to remain a strong core now, to be able to win now and contend, but to also keep the team in a competitive window for years and years to come. But obviously, that's all a year from now. Regardless, there's many things to watch with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in terms of his on-the-field production as well as his contract situation with the Blue Jays. Been the face of the Blue Jays ever since he broke onto the scene, but you look at the contract situation come spring training. If he hasn't signed an extension, then the Blue Jays are going to be in a really tight spot. But for Vladimir Guerrero Jr., it puts him into a tremendous spot, raises value every single day until free agency hits. And you can look at somebody like him who can potentially be in the running for an MVP, because that chip on his shoulder is going to be very, very big. And he's going to be out to prove that he's worth $450+ million. Guys, let me know what you think. Do you think Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s days in Toronto are numbered? Do you think a contract extension will eventually get done? Well, 2025 is going to be a real interesting time for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. It's going to also be a real interesting time here at Vendetta Media. So make sure you guys show your support down below and check out Vendetta Sports Media and stay up to date with all your favorite sports. With all that being said, guys, this is going to do it for me. So I'll see you guys next time.